internal clock, a deregulation of your circadian rhythms. The word circadian was coined by scientists in the 1950s from the Latin word circa, approximately day, a rhythm that operates on a cycle of around 24 hours. Predicting when the sun rises allows the brain to release wake-up chemicals such as ricin, dopamine, and norepinephrine, and to suppress androgynous chemicals such as melatonin, adenosine, and GABA. They might make us want to roll over and go back to sleep. The inner clock let us wake up in the morning refreshed and ready to go. Biological clocks evolved early in evolutionary history when most of the cells were light sensitive, activity synchronized with the light-dark cycle. Light-dark cycles, the clocks were wired into the genes. Plants use a photosensitive internal cellular clock to detect the length of these. Biological clocks help the plants prepare the sunlight by raising their leaves, tilting them toward the sun, and preparing their internal factories to perform photosynthesis, converting sunlight into nutrients. So much so that when tissue from biological clocks of young animals has been transplanted into the older animals, the older animals then live longer. In mammals, circadian rhythms rely on three separate processes: an input system that takes in information from the environment, consisting of the cues such as light-dark cycles and food consumption that are received via peripheral oscillators. A central master oscillator or clock that keeps track of the time of the input events and can generate inconsistent rhythmic signals. To regulate them, we evolved a master clock. In humans, this is located within the hypothalamus in a structure called a suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. The developmental science approach seeks to understand the interaction between genes, culture, and opportunity. Biological clocks are fascinating examples of this. These function by taking input from the environment, primarily light, but also your eating schedule and your own activity cycle, which are influenced by the culture. Light, whether it arises from the rising sun or the little blue light on your cell phone charger, can turn particular genes on and off, changing the timing of when the producing proteins that influence the biological clock and our circadian rhythms. Their light or lack of it can speed up or slow down the circadian rhythms. All of these interact with your own aging process in a variety of ways. Here's just one example. Light, and blue light in particular, is necessary to program the biological clock. Cataracts, which accompany aging, are yellow and so they tend to block out the blue light. Consequently, cataracts can restrict the amount of blue light that reaches in the retina and in turn diminish the importance of neural signaling to the pineal gland and SCN. In some cases, cataract surgery has to restore sleep quality to older adults by allowing more blue light in during the day and thus restoring a healthy melatonin release schedule. But blue light near the bedtime, such as from a cell phone, alarm clock, or a computer, can stimulate the pineal gland and make it more difficult to fall asleep. When you eat, how much you exercise, and how much you sleep are important. But in the past few years, neuroscientists and chronobiologists and people who study biological clocks have come to understand that when you eat, when you exercise, and when you sleep, maybe it is just as important. This is particularly true of all adults. The gastrointestinal tract has a proper circadian clock of its own, and is also home to the billions of microbiota, also called the microbiome. Everyone's microbiome is unique and in the organism, and they make it up having their own clocks. Research of the microbiome is still in its infancy, but early evidence points to the possibility that what and when you eat can influence the microbiotic clock, the circadian rhythms of your microbiota, and the further that your microbiome can send information out to the master clock in your SCN to influence its timing. In addition, the SCN suprachiasmatic nucleus in the hypothalamus can regulate the microbiome through the triggering production of the cyclic glucocorticoids, insulin, and other timing and the rhythm altering substances. As you probably know, people differ in terms of the time of the day when they are most fresh and alert. In popular parlance, I'm early bird, my wife is a night owl. We have a different chronotypes. Different chronotypes on a genetic basis, but they also interact with their environment and experience. Years of staying up late consistently and exposure to blue light beyond sundown can cause changes in gene expression that shift in your chronotype at the genetic level, but this doesn't always happen. It creates many shift workers in a living in conflict with their inherent chronotype, and this is responsible for accidents, depression, and also in productivity. Okay. The invention of light. Artificial light more than a century ago has caused a problem that humankind had never experienced before. The possibility of tricking a CN into the thinking it's daytime when it's night, and the possibility of allowing our circadian rhythms to become fashioned to our own will. Unfortunately, much of the time, all the lights do is disrupt our million years old cycles, and that can have a serious health consequences. And teenagers experiencing a particular shift in their sleep schedules for reasons we don't fully understand, but they're related to the sudden influx in pubertal hormones. Those workers who are early birds versus night owls and give them different shifts so that their work schedule aligned with their internal clock. The aging clock, as we age, the signal to and from the CN degrades. Part of this signal deficit is due to loss or degradation of the nervous system malnutrition. 목이 너무 아파요. In part due to an overall age-related depletion of the neurochemicals and hormones. This is partly why older adults can have trouble getting to sleep, wake up at 5 in the morning and want to dinner at 4:30 afternoon, lose the master clock. Accounts for changes in sleep, waking, and eating cycles. Some evidence indicates that problem is found with an integrity of the neurons in the CNS. Transplanting young tissue into the CN of the hamsters improve the clock synchrony of aging hamsters and increase their lifespan. This suggests that a good circadian rhythms may be related to longevity. We are a long way off from being able to do such a transplant in humans, but the results of these experiments helps us to understand the vulnerabilities of age clock and offer directions to longevity, increasing research. A phase advance as they age, people are more likely to become morning types as they age. Degradation of vasopressin signal is responsible for increasing fragmentation of the sleep-wake cycle, sleep-wake activity cycle, and for the disruption of core body temperature rhythms and the morpholic urination. lead to the poor sleep quality and quantity, resulting in an increase in the daytime drowsiness. The function of the biological clock is disrupted to even greater degree in dementia. Postmortem studies on dementia patients' brains show sharp degradation of the hypothalamus (SCN). This affects more than just eating and sleeping. There are times of the day, effects upon alertness and performance that become sharply emphasized when we age. Adults after an age of 60 or begin to show performance differences on a range of neuropsychological tests, memory, problem solving, spatial intelligence, reasoning, fine motor coordination, and athletic performance. Test them in the morning and they're normal. Test them in the mid to late afternoon, and they show reduced performance. The time point is valuable. It could be 50, 60, 70, or 80, depending on the interaction of genes, culture, and environment. Disrupted circadian rhythms without a clearly identifiable external cause are an early warning sign of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and Huntington's disease, chronic inflammation, and cancers. Repetitive disturbances in circadian rhythms, particularly from frequent time zone shifts and irregular exposure to light, have not been implicated in a variety of diseases, including metabolic syndrome, immune deficiencies, and bone and muscle weaknesses, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and shortened lifespan. One of the most well-known functions of the biological clock is to control the release of melatonin to promote sleep. Your body makes less melatonin. When we are young, the biological clock is more flexible, malleable, and it can react to the environment changes quickly. As we get older, resetting the biological clock can take longer, much longer. Phase advances and shift to the waking up early and going to bed earlier than usual and more difficult for older adults to recover from. Phase delays show no difference between older and young adults. Sleep hygiene. If you are sleep deprived, which refers not just to the amount of sleep you have gotten over the past few days, but also to the quality of the sleep, you will tend to notice in post-lunch sleep more, and you will notice it more as you age. Sleep hygiene involves avoiding bright lights before bed, sleeping in a completely dark room, get blackout curtains if you need to, and going to bed and waking at the same time every day. Now that we know about these circadian rhythms, this makes sense. Your biological clock expects you to go to sleep at a certain point within a 24-hour cycle. It adjusts in your core body temperature, slows digestion, releases melatonin, reprocesses dopamine, and oversees a dozen other regulations. If you go to sleep earlier or later than usual, these cycles are a little out of sync with the fact that you're sleeping. Sleep quality is impaired. Diet is important too. Eating within 2 hours in a bedtime can decouple the central circadian rhythms from those in the liver, stomach, and intestine. What you eat can also be a factor. Alcohol is known to disrupt sleep cycles and the circadian rhythms, and high-fat diets tend to best the clock. A practical implication of this is that if you need to stay up late, eat fatty foods like those pictured in virtually every late night TV commercial. Focus on light therapy and melatonin treatments are the most effective means of the resetting the circadian clock, especially in the aged. They are also effective in people with Alzheimer's related or mild cognitive impairment. It's possible that these treatments may also prevent or delay the onset of Alzheimer's disease itself. Melatonin treatment, cognitive performance improved, and agitated behavior was reduced. You may have heard of seasonal affective disorder (SAD), which causes mood and concentration disturbances and is triggered when shorter greater days of the winter. Melatonin levels tend to rise about 14 hours in and after waking. If you get 8 hours of sleep every night and wake up at 6 a.m., that means your melatonin levels will naturally rise around 8 p.m. and you will start to get sleepy and go to bed in 2 hours after that, around 10 p.m. If it takes about an hour for a melatonin pill to be absorbed into your bloodstream, that means taking one about 3 hours before bednight. The next most effective treatment after light therapy and melatonin is moderate late afternoon or early evening exercise, like going outside for a walk. The combination of all three is the best. Caffeine is one of the most widely consumed mind-altering substances in the world. For many people, it enhances wakefulness, alertness, and focus, and can assist establishing or changing the circadian rhythms, particularly when crossing the time zone. Peak performance. At the beginning of the book, I introduced a concept of health span versus disease span. The amount of time you are able to avoid decline in health and live a fully productive and self-sufficient life. There is an important concept called productivity span that can apply not just in the arc of your life, but also in the arc of a single day. There are times of the day when you're at your best and other times when you're not. The most explanation for this is that there are individual differences among the athletes and the differences in the dimensional values of course. Diet. Now my BS detector is kicking in, writing best-selling books and as an American authority. And in fact, the tomatoes are good for you, especially when cooked, as is shown in solid, peer-reviewed studies. The lycopene can contain decreased risk of prostate and breast cancer, heart disease, osteoporosis, and other chronic diseases. Now my BS detector is going haywire. Performing surgeries when it's 1 or 10,000 doesn't give any scientific data on what people should eat. By the end of the ad, we learned that Hazelnut selling a line of supplements he created. Every 10 years or so, it seems that scientists have a completely different view of what we should and shouldn't eat to promote longevity and health. The meatless diet, no fat diet, no carbohydrate diet, the all-carb diet, the paleo diet. First, the fat was the enemy, then sugar, then carbs, which break down into sugars. You'll be forgiven for thinking that scientists don't know what they're talking about. The problem is to do with economics and understanding the properly applying the scientific methods. The scientific problem is that people who eat the different foods may have other differences as well that we are not keeping track of. Different tendencies to exercise or not, sleep duration, attitude toward the medicine, hydration, different daily stresses endured. Someone has just lost their job, another just had a first child, another is a heroin addict. Another is a professional athlete, and so on and so forth. This goes to the core to my personal psychology and individual differences versus a generalization in neuroscience allows. What you really want is to be able to take people who are identical in every lifestyle metric and then tell them exactly what to eat, putting them in one bit of completely under experimental's control. We infer that smoking is bad, but it has not been shown in controlled experiments in humans, just rodents and monkeys. Similarly, we infer that saturated fats and sugars are bad, but we don't have controlled experiments that prove it. So the history of dietary research has been hobbled by the lack of controlled experiments and by the very real possibility that there are individual differences. Hello? And the way that people metabolize food and nutrients. The glucose metabolism, the activity of lipoprotein lipase, an enzyme that promotes an fat storage versus fat oxidation, and the genetic factors. What is clear is that there are no data yet to help clinicians match patients' food metabolic genotype to the optimally beneficial diet. The new field of nutrigenomics promises to fill this gap, but these gaps don't mean that we know nothing. The last 15 years of research have moved us close to the goal of understanding how diet affects health, well-being, and longevity. Our digestive systems today are the product of tens of thousands of years in hominid evolution. Our ancestors of Paleolithic age, about 50,000 years ago, subsisted by gathering plants and fishing and by hunting or scavenging wild animals. As a result, there was primarily meat, fish, fruit, vegetables, roots, eggs, and nuts. This is so-called Paleolithic diet or Paleo diet. This diet is based on the fact that we have not evolved to eat the high amount of sugar, salt, and saturated animal fats that are in a typical American diet. Those are products of technology and industrial food production that our bodies, our genetics, have not yet caught up to. Although terms such as purified, detoxified, and energized may sound impressive, they generally used to cover up to a lack of a scientific proof. There are only a few known toxins, for example lead, and these treatments do nothing to remove them. May also advise us on customers to be our testimonials, and it does, from scientific research. Okay, and it does. And it does from individuals who have used products there are no substitute for evidence from scientific research. Anecdotes. If the product's claims were backed up with hard evidence, the purveyor would say so. Pointing you to peer-reviewed scientific studies, just remember the plural of anecdote is not data. The plural of anecdote is not data. In other words, an anecdote is a simple observation or a story that comes from uncontrolled conditions. True scientific data comes from a systematic attempt to isolate variables, document conditions, and observe tends to a large number of cases. The diet group, but not the control group, also quit smoking, exercised more, and attended stress management counseling. The people in the control group were told to do none of those things, as Scientific American reported. It's hardly surprising that quitting smoking, exercising, reducing stress, and dieting went on together, improved their health. But the fact that half of participants were not making all of these lifestyle changes means that we cannot make any inferences about the effect of a diet alone. Antioxidants. When atoms, molecule, or ion has an unpaired electron, it is unstable and is called a free radical. Okay, free radicals are produced all the time as your cells convert glucose to energy. But the damage to mitochondria, a subunit of cell found inside of most cells of your body, can also lead to increased production of free radicals, and so can consuming certain substances such as fried food, alcohol, tobacco smoke, pesticides, and other pollutants. Free radicals, because they're unstable, can cause damage to the DNA and cell membranes by grabbing their electron through a process of oxidation. Soon the whole thing has snowballed and out of control. In the meantime, all of these molecules with free radicals can perform their cellular functions properly, and you get oxidative stress. Antioxidants often work by donating electron to the free radical before it can damage other cell components. Once the electron and free radical appears, the free radical stabilized and it becomes non-toxic. Oxidative stress is believed to underlie a wide range of diseases, including cancer, diabetes, and neurological disorders such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease, and to shorten lifespan. It causes high LDL levels, low density lipoprotein in the bad cholesterol, and to the accumulation of the plaques. It can lead to heart disease. It even plays a role in the development of wrinkles. It's been known since the 1960s that free radicals accelerate the aging process, and that the reduction of free radicals can delay aging. The big question is whether the H-ray antioxidants can mitigate the damage done by the oxidation of free radicals. The matter is further confused by the fact that there is no universal agreement among scientists about which molecules are antioxidants and which aren't. Some of the well-known substances that are often mentioned as antioxidants are retinol, vitamin A, beta-carotene, and precursor of retinol, ascorbic acid, vitamin C, vitamin E, flavonoids, and some omega-3 fatty acids. Sometimes zinc can function as an antioxidant. The definition of antioxidants can be very broad because they can act either directly or indirectly, and any substances that can detoxify free radicals might be justly called antioxidants. Selenium, for example, doesn't act directly, can deoxidize in certain reactive oxygen species through indirect action. Tocopherol, vitamin E, on the other hand, acts directly by donating a hydrogen atom. The issue in part isn't whether the mere fact that food or supplement molecule can donate a hydrogen atom to free radical means that in real living organisms it will, and that it is working like we think it should. We don't know. Recall the discussion of glucosamine supplementation in chapter 7 on pain. Taking calories in a pill might seem that it should help in calories breakdowns in your body, but the body doesn't work like that. The same principle applies to the substances in foods we eat, such as antioxidants and cholesterol. We don't necessarily have the effect that you might think. There is modest research evidence that eating antioxidants in food is beneficial. The problem is that there have not been enough rigorous studies in antioxidant foods to draw any definitive conclusions. One recent meta-analysis found that there were no randomized and controlled trials. All studies were judged to be moderate and substantial risk of bias. There is even less evidence to support taking antioxidant supplements. For example, one study followed nearly 40,000 women for 10 years. Half were randomly assigned to take vitamin E supplement and half took a placebo. After 10 years, the vitamin E had significantly reduced the risk of a heart attack and stroke or cancer. The results of a randomized control trials with a range of antioxidant supplements, including beta-carotene, vitamins A and C, and selenium, did not show reductions in cancer. For gastrointestinal cancers, the supplements actually increased or caused mortality. A meta-analysis reviewed the results from studies with more than 290,000 people and found no effect in antioxidant supplements on cardiovascular disease. Antioxidant supplementation may be interfering with an immune system or with the defense mechanisms responsible for the elimination of impaired cells. For some subsets in the population with a really poor diet, or for pregnant women, supplements may be helpful, but scientific evidence is still wanting. Many supplements in studies fail because they study only one supplement at a time, which doesn't mimic anything like an actual food. Actual foods can contain fiber, micronutrients, and a beneficial gut bacteria that supplements lack. And at least some antioxidants, vitamin C and E, have been shown to block that has a permanent effect on physical exercise. Cholesterol is a waxy substance that circulates in your blood and attaches to the proteins there. Your body needs cholesterol build healthy cells, including brain cells, but high levels of certain forms of cholesterol can increase your risk of heart disease. When cholesterol combines with the proteins, the resulting molecule is called a lipoprotein. Low-density lipoprotein LDL, the bad cholesterol, transports cholesterol particles throughout your body. It can build up in the walls of your arteries, making them hard and narrow and causing arteriosclerosis. High-density lipoprotein HDL, the good cholesterol, picks up excess cholesterol and takes it back to your liver, which then removes it from your body. Unhealthy eating habits and obesity can raise your bad cholesterol levels. Lack of physical activity can lower your good cholesterol levels. Smoking does both, especially in women, by damaging the walls of your blood vessels and making them more likely to accumulate LDL deposits. LDL levels naturally rise with age, making a healthy lifestyle habits increasingly important, especially after age 50. There is a genetic component as well. The rate at which bad cholesterol climbs and ability to physical activity to increase in good cholesterol are partly inherited. If adopting a healthy lifestyle habits and physical activity improve the diet doesn't optimize cholesterol levels, there are medications that can lower LDL statins. For extreme cases, there is a procedure called the lipoprophylaxis. They use a filtering machine to remove LDLs from the blood. Food labels in the United States and many other countries list the cholesterol content of those foods, but there is no scientific consensus about whether eating cholesterol-rich foods actually alters cholesterol levels in the blood. And many cholesterol-rich foods are high in unnecessary nutrients. You do need fats in your diet. They're a major source of energy, and they are necessary for building the myelin sheaths around the neurons and for maintaining strong, healthy cells. But not all fats are created equal. The main types are saturated fats found in meat, eggs, and whole-fat dairy products. Monounsaturated fats are found in olive and canola oil. Fully unsaturated fats are found in seeds, nuts, and fish and vegetable oils. And trans fats are found in fried foods, microwave popcorns, and some commercially baked goods. No association between the consumption of saturated fats and heart disease. Now, this is not a controlled experiment. It may be that people in the study who ate saturated fat got more exercise. There may be general differences in the way their bodies metabolize saturated fats, but the real culprit in the analysis was in trans fats and the ones found in fried foods, potato chips, and in other junk food. Diets high in soluble fibers are good, Because fiber bonds together causes mucus in the digestive system and drags them out of the body before they get into circulation. Some good sources of subtle fiber are oats, oatmeal, Cheetos, and Trader Joe's sauce, barley, and other whole grains and beans, including soybeans and soy milk, high fiber fruits and apples, strawberries, and citrus. The pectin that contains salt fiber, eggplants, okra, fatty fish, liquid vegetable oils, and nuts. Just 2 ounces of nuts a day can lower it by 5%. That, Diets high in omega-3 fatty acids is found in fatty fish, seeds, and especially chia, flaxseed, and hemp. Nuts, especially walnuts and olive and canola oils, and can lower LDL and reduce the risk of heart disease by 7%. And some of fiber, hip brain, vegetables, and whole grain are also healthy because they prevent constipation and diverticulitis. Constipation and diverticulitis. The emerging picture is in a dietary consumption of fats, even saturated ones, is not the cause of heart disease, but rather inflammatory processes that cause cholesterol to build up in arterial walls. It is the alpha linoleic acid, polyphenol, and omega-3 fatty acids present in nuts, extra virgin olive oil, and vegetables, and oily fish, and rapidly attenuate inflammation and coronary thrombosis. Calorie restriction. Calorie restricted diet. When you have excess food and nutrients and your physiological stress levels are low, your genes support cellular growth and reproduction. In contrast, under harsher conditions, genetic activity shifts towards cell maintenance and protection. A number of stresses mediate this reaction, and calorie restriction is one of the most robust, working in many species from East C. elegans and from western primates. For years, it was thought that calorie restriction merely slows down an organism's metabolism and therefore slows down the rate at which cellular damage accumulations. It is now well accepted that calorie restriction triggers a change in a metabolic response, in particular, a downregulation of insulin and insulin-like growth factor, IGF-1, which is an AMP-activated protein kinase, and the sirtuins. Molecular biological and Cynthia can explain the significance of this. Slowing aging might seem like an overwhelming challenge, as the decline is so pervasive. So it is noteworthy that when extending a lifespan in laboratory animals, we do not have to combat individually all the problems of age, such as the decline in muscles, the wound-caused skin, and the mutant mitochondria. Instead, we just tweak a regulatory gene, and the animals does the rest. In other words, animals that have the latent potential to live much longer than they normally do. In mammals, insulin levels rise in response to the glucose, and this rise may ultimately shorten lifespan. Insulin is necessary for normal metabolism. It helps the glucose in your blood enter cells in your muscle, fat, and liver, where it can be used for energy. If your insulin levels rise, hyperinsulinemia, and they stay that way, a host of health problems can occur, including insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, obesity, immune system suppression, and cardio arrhythmias. Calorie restriction, because of its interaction with an insulin signaling system, appears to be good for the brain. Why might be that? Neuroscientist Mark Madden of Johns Hopkins University says, if you're hungry and haven't found food, you better find food. You don't want your brain to shut down if you're hungry. Some of the neurobenefits that are found within fasting also occur within vigorous exercise. The neurochemical changes are similar. Both stimulate the production and the brain-derived neurotrophic growth factor. Fasting stimulates the production of ketones on any source of neurons. Fasting can increase the number of mitochondrial neurons, which helps them producing more energy. There is also emerging evidence that insulin may play a role in developing Alzheimer's disease. This has led some forward-thinking doctors to prescribe diabetes medication metformin, a blood sugar lowering drug, or metformin, proactively to patients with a familial history or other risk factors for Alzheimer's and dementia. Although the evidence for this is scarce, what evidence there is looks promising. A meta-analysis of 3 studies showed that cognitive impairment was significantly less prevalent in people who took metformin, and in 6 studies, dementia incidence was significantly reduced. Metformin was further found to have a neuroproductivity effect. Not all of these were in patients with diabetes. We just don't have evidence yet for the effectiveness of using drugs in preventative. There haven't been enough longitudinal studies yet for us to know whether intermittent fasting or other forms of fasting could have long-lasting negative consequences beyond the initial benefits. When you do eat certain foods, show up in a study of the study as being healthful. These include virgin olive oil, which is rich in monounsaturated fatty acids, the good fats. Consuming olive oil around 3 tablespoons a day is associated with relieving oxidative stress on cells and regulating cholesterol and anti-inflammatory activity. Cruciferous vegetables include Brussels sprout, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage, and bok choy have been shown to have a proactive effect against many forms of cancer, and it can even inhibit the progression of some cancers. They do this by initiating cell defense mechanisms and modifying cancer-related genes. Another component of the Mediterranean diet is oily fish, such as sardines and anchovies. These contain omega-3 fatty acids that are known to be essential in the development and the maintenance of the brain and the retinal tissue, as well as for myelination. Taking omega-3 supplements makes a little or no difference of the risk of cardiovascular events, coronary heart death, and coronary heart disease events, and stroke or health regulatories. And it may even increase the incidence in some cancers. Supplements is no substitute for the wealth of nutrients you get from eating fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. It's within all things involving diet, don't overdo it. Too much fish can raise levels of mercury and other toxins. Also, the ocean is being hugely overfished, and soon there won't any more for the grandkids. Has been shown to lower blood pressure and thereby reducing coronary risk. But this is a complex issue. Alcohol consumption increases risk for primary tumors of the mouth, pharynx, larynx, esophagus, liver, breast, colon, and rectum. It also increases the mortality in breast cancer survivors and possibly those with other cancers as well. It interferes with sleep dream cycles, and we saw in chapter 8 with circadian clocks, and it can be addictive. As with fish oil, supplementation industry grew out of the need in finding rat ones and potential health effects. Resveratrol has antioxidant properties and it enormously reduces hypertension, heart failure, and ischemic heart disease, and it improves insulin sensitivity and reduces blood glucose levels, and a high-fat diet induced obesity. However, systematic reviews conclude that there is insufficient evidence that resveratrol supplements could prevent disease or extend life in humans. That said, another comprehensive review recommended many cognitive and physical benefits are claimed for a number of diets, including the DASH, MIND, and Mediterranean diets, but there isn't little evidence to support them. The putative causes of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's are oxidative stress, inflammation of neural tissue, and vascular problems caused by the buildup of harmful substances in the circulatory system. Healthy diets that lower cholesterol and inflammation are the logical approach. Like the evidence, and the evidence came in counter to the logical advice. The problem is in the bodies and the brains are complicated. There are multiple interacting factors, and we are really only at the very beginning of being able to understand all the implications with even the simplest interventions. Protein. Although those in absorb protein less effectively, and the recurring point 54 grams of protein per pound of the body weight per day. It's not pure protein, in fact. It probably has less than half an ounce of protein. Consider the following. One cup of non-fat milk equals 0.3 ounces protein. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter equals 0.2 ounces protein. 2 medium eggs equals 0.4 ounces protein. Half a pound of salmon equals 1.7 ounces protein. If you add everything I just listed, you still be 0.4 ounces shorter than your daily requirement. The most effective proteins for those are the ones that are rich in amino acid leucine, milk, cheese, beef, tuna, chicken, peanuts, soybeans, and eggs. Leucine is one of the 9 essential amino acids. Building blocks of proteins that we use and obtain through our diet, and is mainly found in animal proteins. There are competing goals here. Cheese and beef contain unhealthy saturated fats, and tuna can contain unhealthy levels of mercury, and a chicken can contain antibiotics. Yet they are effective source of protein. A good alternative for some is a 98% lean beef that contains less than 2 grams of fat in a 100 gram portion. Lack of protein can cause serious problems within your brain, muscles, and immune system. We need leucine for protein synthesis and many metabolic functions. These amino acids help regulate blood sugar levels and growth and repair muscles and bone tissue and wound healing. Leucine toxicity can develop and has been associated with degradation of neural circuits, delirium, cognitive impairment, reduction in serotonin levels, and excess amino levels in the blood, as well as blocking the absorption of other amino acids. You need leucine, but not too much. And so foods and just listeners should eat in moderation. Tuna sandwiches every day at lunch are not the way to go. Vegetable proteins are part of that balanced diet. You may have read reports that soy products interferes with sex hormones, lowering testosterone in men, and leading to estrogen problems in menopausal women. Hydration. Aristotle wrote that living beings are moist and warm, however, all ages dry and cold. Decline in heat and body water. Dehydration is difficult to diagnose. Hydration is something most of us don't think about, but it is essential for cellular and brain health. Often, if you notice yourself feeling fatigue, this is the first sign of dehydration. Other symptoms include headaches and nausea. Dehydration is a medical condition. It is not thirst. Thirst is just a symptom that may or may not be present when you're dehydrated. Dehydration is deadly. It is the second leading killer in children under 4 worldwide, and the eighth leading cause of death among adults over 70. It's also linked to the formation of kidney stones. Common causes are too much heat or exercise because you lose your salts during your sweat, higher altitudes, and illness. Alcohol is also culprit. It turns up hormones that help us absorb water, so we lose more fluids than normal. Older person have an increased risk of dehydration even when water is readily available to them because those detectors in the brain degrade. Individuals at the greatest risk of dehydration include people with a fever or infections, impaired cognitive status or impaired renal function, and those who take medications that affect the fluid and electrolyte balance. Dehydration results from imbalance of water, salt, and electrolytes in the blood. Electrolytes include sodium, chloride, potassium, and magnesium. Rehydration does not mean simply drinking more water because when you're dehydrated, the body can retain the water that you drink, and water alone doesn't replace any depleted salts and electrolytes. Constipation. As Hippocrates noted, it is a general rule the intestine becomes sluggish with age. Constipation is one of the most common and annoying problems of aging, affecting 50% of the older adults. As we age, the intestinal muscles that help move food along weaken, and the contractions are not as strong. Often medications are taken by the older adults can cause constipation as a side effect. Many older adults become less physically active, which also increases constipation. It disproportionately affects women, non-white people from lower socioeconomic status, and those who suffer from depression. Why in the world is this in the book and on the brain? Clinical observations suggest that constipation interferes with cognition. Only a small number of studies have explored this, and the results, although preliminary, suggest a connection. In rats, constipation led to changes in gene expression that could in turn affect hemoglobin content and quality. The capacity of the blood to bring oxygen to neurons in the hippocampus, and alterations and cholinergic system of the brain. In humans, an association between chronic consumption and cognitive impairment has been identified. Another thing that can help and that can reduce and eliminate the need for the laxatives, is probiotics. The bacterial balance in the gut can be adversely affected by taking antibiotics. Oh yeah, by changes in diet and exercise, by the normal process of aging, and by host factors we have not yet identified. Gut bacteria, probiotics. Lying on the inside of both and large intestine is a layer of mucus that forms a biofilm and it provides a most warm environment for the microbiome. The thousands of different species of bacteria and perform the special jobs to keep the entire intestinal community healthy. From their disease and bacteria regulate a number of aspects in both cellular housekeeping and the health throughout the body. The particular assortment of bacteria found in your gut is unique to you, as unique as a fingerprint. It is shaped by genes, culture, and opportunity, including what your parents ate, what you ate as an infant and a child, and the lifetime influences of different diseases and stressors that your body has experienced. The microbiome is important for nutrition, digestion, and the immune system function. The inside of the stomach and a large intestine is in a highly acidic environment. The bacteria that live there had to undergo adaptations to allow them to survive there, but the reward for them is a great access to food and not a lot of competition for it. The relationship is mutually beneficial to you and them. There is an emerging body of evidence that gut microbiome also affects cognition, behavior, and brain health. This is a cutting edge stuff, and the stories are still being written. We already know that serotonin is an important neuroregulator of food, memory, and anxiety. Serotonin, yes. It turns out that 90% of serotonin in the body resides in the gut, and it is manufactured there by bacteria such as Candidus, Streptococcus, Listeria, and Enterococcus. Gut bacteria have been linked to their mental well-being and depression. People rely on two particular bacteria, Coprococcus and Dialister, are more likely to be depressed. Coprococcus and Dialister. Okay, Coprococcus and Dialister. More likely to be depressed, and those who have normal levels of them report a higher general quality of life. Coprococcus is associated with dopamine signaling, and it also produces butyrate, a fatty acid that is important anti-inflammatory agent. Increased inflammation has been linked to the depressive systems. The gut microbiome can become out of balance, leading to a condition that called dysbiosis. The most commonly known cause of dysbiosis is taking prescription antibiotics for an infection. This can kill not just the disease-causing bacteria, but beneficial gut bacteria as well. Dysbiosis can also be brought on by the unhealthy lifestyle behaviors, such as irregular eating times and high-fat diets. When we are younger, the effects are so subtle, we don't notice. When we are older, the effects can debilitating. Misbalance in the microbiomes are suspected and involved in obesity and a number of diseases, including cancer and Alzheimer's. Such as infants being separated from their mothers can have a lifelong impact on the brain's stress response. Early life stresses can also have an influence on the composition of the gut microbiome. Their composition is affected by the mother's diet and stress levels and by travel through the birth canal. Children who are delivered by cesarean section show a reduced diversity of the gut microbiome. In animals, stress caused by the separation of rhesus monkeys from their mothers changed the microbiota and the decrease in their bifidobacterium and the lactobacillus levels. The full extent of the gut-brain interactions is still unknown, but links between these interactions and an imbalance the microbiome had been implicated in mental disorders such as diverse autism, schizophrenia, ADHD, bipolar disorder, and multiple sclerosis. A credible, though still unconfirmed view is that an imbalanced microbiome during infancy and childhood can lead to these conditions and a disease later in life. but that doesn't mean that the conditions are irreversible. Probiotics contain foods and supplements can introduce or reintroduce beneficial bacteria into the gut. These can affect certain physical functions as in increasing iron absorption, protecting against pesticide absorption, and the distribution of the fat around the body. They have been shown to be especially effective treatments for irritable bowel syndrome, a disease that disproportionately afflicts older adults. But where it really gets interesting is if the probiotics can potentially have a non-cognition, emotion, and behavior. Not on cognition, emotion, and behavior. Small-scale trials have shown that single probiotics, bifidobacteria infantis, can alleviate depression and anxiety. It can concoct out lactobacillus Hephaticus. Hephaticus and bifidobacterium longum can reduce cortisol levels. Probiotics have been shown to have a positive effect on mood and the brain's emotional centers. And emerging evidence suggests that eating more fiber promotes gut health and a microbiotic balance. In the United States, they are not regulated by FDA, and so quality can vary dramatically. It's difficult to be an informed consumer, and these factors are rarely tested before the probiotic product goes to the market. Where do we stand? Taken together, cardiovascular disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes accounted for approximately 2/3 of all deaths in the United States, and more than $700 billion in direct and indirect costs each year. If dietary changes can reduce the incidence of these diseases, it will have a truly significant effect on world health. The professional organizations that represent researchers and clinicians who treat these diseases, the American Heart Association, the American Cancer Society, and the American Diabetes Association, published a joint statement of dietary recommendations. They concluded simply that higher intake of fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and fish is associated with a reduced incidence of all these diseases. Altogether, the societies in whose lifestyle are similar to those of our ancestors, he found that they generally exhibit excellent health in spite of a wide range of diets. It doesn't matter if they can get 80% of their calories from carbohydrates, or from animal fats, or from nuts and berries. Almost all eat more fiber than the average American, but that isn't about the only difference. This takes a lot of the wind out of the paleo diet. Interestingly, they don't shun sugar, consuming it in the form of honey. Notably, though they don't have access to processed foods and deep fried foods, there is no one best diet, and in that we can be very healthy on a wide range of diets. Have obesity and a lack of variety in any given individual hunter-gatherer's diet. When you have a lot of food choices, we tend to overeat, because any variety of flavors is enticing. There is a related movement called intuitive eating, developed by registered dietitian Evelyn Tribble. It has been associated with reduced body mass index, reduced cholesterol, lowered blood pressure, and improved psychological health. That don't work because they're based on restriction. The big idea is intuitive dieting. I said that your body knows what kind of food you need. Yes, that it has an intuitive drive toward protein, carbs, and fats you can trust. Or perhaps it is driven in a microbes in your gut that send signals in the brain to generate an intuitive drive. Maybe your body knows what it wants to eat. The four additional principles of intuitive dieting are: 1. Try to eat when you're hungry. 2. Try to stop when you're no longer hungry. 3. Learn to cope with emotions in alternative forms other than eating. And 4. Place no restrictions on the types of food eaten unless for medical reasons. Now, like me, you may be skeptical about your body knowing what foods you need. It just doesn't sound as scientific. How do you distinguish intuitive eating from the decidedly maladaptive craving, such as wanting to eat a pint of ice cream every night? First, this is a kind of binge eating, is often spurred by desire for emotional discomfort, an attempt to relieve stress and anxiety by eating traditional forbidden foods, such as those in high fats and sugars. It results in high levels of shame and regret, not to mention weight gain and a microbiome imbalance, and an efficient vicious cycle. In contrast, intuitive eating involves a reframing of eating in a physical rather than emotional or social reasons. Thus, knowing that any food option isn't on the table, so to speak, makes you less likely to binge eat forbidden foods. Proponent of intuitive eating, such as Mel and Friend, talk about cultivating a less obsessive, healthy relationship with food and allowing the body experiencing a healthy variety in moderate amounts of all the foods that are available to us. And all of this should be informed by good sense and the knowledge that although you might consume them once in a while, the chocolate cake and onion rings that is not a good long-term strategy for optimal health. Much of the attention is in a popular price and about what we eat, isn't in the so-called superfoods such as blueberries and acai, kale, and sweet potatoes. But these approaches ignore the nutrients and chemistry facts. The way in which food in real life, optimal diet interact with one another. Often you can try and fit a particular problem without creating another one, and that's an essential issue in nutrition journalism. There is often a narrow function on there is often a narrow focus on only one aspect of nutrition or in one health outcome while ignoring another. The key to dieting seems to be not what you eat, but what you don't. The American diet is too high in processed foods and sugar, salt and red meat. Junk food is addictive. It overestimates the brain's reward system, which evolved in an era when fats and sweets were really hard to come by. Apart from that, the fact is, we just don't know enough about nutrition to say that there isn't a single best diet. There is no single best diet. One single best diet. One best diet. There is no. As a report on the state of nutrition advice at Stanford University noted, the history of nutrition science is littered with it remains an hypothesis. There are once and the next big thing. At present, what doesn't seem to be clear is that large amount of refined sugar deprived foods and heavily processed foods are unhealthy. Apart from that, eating a variety of different foods in moderation, a variety of different foods and moderation, and eating more vegetables than average American currently consumes all appear to contribute to longevity and health. Reducing the use of tobacco and alcohol is also indicated. Exercise. The obvious one is an oxygenate. Oxygenates. The obvious one is that it oxygenates the blood. The brain runs an oxygenated glucose carried by hemoglobin in the blood, and the fragile brain oxygen is good. Mm. Every minute you walk on an uphill and a trail, whether in a park or in the wilderness, it requires a huge making hundreds of micro adjustments to the foot pressure, angle, and pace. These adjustments stimulate the neural circuitry of your brain in the precise way that is about to be used. The area that is most stimulated is your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure that is critical to memory formation and retrieval. This is why so many studies show the memory is enhanced by physical activity. This was in looking at things known as embodied cognition, the idea that physical properties of the human body, particularly in perceptual and motor systems, play an important role in cognition, thinking, problem solving, action planning, and the memory. In this way of thinking, the sensation of the movement is intrinsically bound with knowledge. Embodied cognition is consistent with this both in developmental cognitive neuroscience approach. It sees humans as an embodied, ecological, and genetically embodied social agents who shape and they shape the environment. The body influences the mind, just as the mind influences the body. Embodied of this is in a spring, ligaments, and an arc in a human's foot. This thumb, a little spring, eliminates the need for massive feedback control circuit and the brain to give them tools and a nice little push up during walking. And although such characters surely exist, the most successful intellectuals are those who embrace physical, and the most successful athletes are those who embrace the intellectual. A systematic meta-analysis showed that for adults with a mild cognitive impairment, exercising has a significant beneficial effect on memory. Adults with a mild cognitive impairment have a considerably increased risk of progressing dementia, and this specific risk is increased by an atrophy of the hippocampus. Physical activity may be just as effective as a pharmaceutical agent in improving and maintaining memory. As well as a global cognition and delaying the onset of dementia and other neurological diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Aging is an irreversible and inescapable process, but the effects of aging are, in some cases, reversible and, if not completely escapable, at least subject to delay. There are many factors that are under our control: diet, gut microbiota, social networks, and sleep, regular visits to the doctor. But the single most important quality of the environmental and physical health is physical activity. This doesn't mean the other qualities in diet and sleep aren't important. They are. And it doesn't mean that if you engage in a more physical activity, you don't need to follow other healthy practices. What it does mean is that you might want to take this seriously in particular area. If, like many people, your attitude about getting activities, yeah, I'll study tomorrow. It's important to respect your body limits and consider age-related factors. At a slightly faster and comfortable pace. Looking at memory, movement, embodied cognition as being interrelated and helps explain one of the biggest mysteries in human memory: infantile and childhood amnesia. Although children, even before they can walk and are eager to explore the space around them, it appears into the onset of walking triggers neurochemical activity in the hippocampus, prompting, the hippocampal replaces cells and the greater cells and begin their internal mapping of the environment. Those hippocampal base and memory systems might atrophy, use it or lose it, as professional athletes say. The central role in the hippocampus plays in general, not just in spatial memory, can additionally account for other cognitive impairments and often seen in less active and older adults, including the decrements in the reasoning, hand-eye coordination, and the problem solving, as well as in a general cognitive slowing. First is a loss of dexterity, which comes from a general slowing down in nerve transmission speed, loss in nerve conductance, and a reduction in eye-hand coordination. Second is a loss in motivation, which may be born in isolation and a feeling of loneliness. Third is a loss of joy and a pleasure and doing things for oneself, partly owing to reductions in the production and their uptake in dopamine, the brain's reward chemical signaling channels. It's important to take an honest and fair assessment. A large part of the story of people who manage to stay young in spite of their chronological age relates to the synaptic plasticity, the ability of the brain to make and form new connections. As we've seen, plasticity is influenced by your genetic makeup, your lifetime of experiences, and a culture in which you live. It is also influenced by your daily routines, especially as you get older. The act of transmitting information across the synapses and the forming of new synaptic connections requires a dramatic increase in the amount of energy used in the brain. Astrocytes, a type of brain cell, serves and supplies of that energy. A model of body evidence shows that physical activity increases in the effectiveness of an astrocyte, and thereby enhancing synaptic plasticity, memory, and overall cognition. In addition to synaptic plasticity, cognition is maintained and enhanced by neurogenesis, the growing new neurons. As we saw in the memory chapter, the adult hippocampus grows in 700 new neurons per day on average, and there does not seem to be a decline within a normal aging. Physical activity has been shown to increase in hippocampal neurogenesis in the rodents. It is not possible to observe any such changes in humans, but we have observed improvement in the memory for human adults who engage in the aerobic physical activity. Most effective is an engage in aerobics suggestion before learning something new. When you get your heart rate adjusted before the mental task, you prime the brain with an increase in blood flow, which creates an enriched setting for the mental activity. Different kinds of physical activity confer different benefits. Physical activity can be categorized in either aerobic or anaerobic. The American College of Sport Medicine defines aerobic activities as any activity that uses large muscle groups, can be maintained continuously, is rhythmic in nature. It includes swimming, cycling, running, dancing, and walking. It's called an aerobic because an aerobic means living in the presence of oxygen. And these activities leverage the body's ability to use oxygen to extract energy from carbohydrates, amino acids, and fats. Defines anaerobic activities and physical activities of the very short duration, fueled by the energy sources within the contracting muscles, and independent of the use of an inhaled oxygen as an energy source. It includes things like strength, weight training, and short distance running. Aerobic activities in a kind that reduce risk of the heart disease and promotes kinds of cognitive functions, as we discussed so far. Anaerobic activity can help to build muscles, increase your endurance and ability to withstand fatigue, and decrease in body fat. It can also have a small beneficial effect on cardiovascular risk and a lipid profile. Sarcopenia is a loss of muscle tissue, similar to what osteoporosis is for bone. Sarcopenia is a leading contributing functional decline and the loss of an independence in older adults. So it's not just about endurance or blood oxygenation. Maintaining muscle strength is essential as well. So we turn to indoor fitness. Although embodying condition says that interacting with an environment is best, avoiding sedentarism is crucial. Adults aged 60 or 79 years who engage in an indoor aerobic training should increase in brain volume in frontal and temporal cortex as well as a large wide matter tracts. Okay. Even a little bit of physical activity can be transformative for brain health and longevity. Time efficient workouts like in heat provide an alternative in a way that a majority of participants find far more enjoyable. The story gets better yet. Even in the tiniest, barely measurable amount of the physical to improve brain function, not as much as anything he mentioned previously, but it is significant and it matters. The very largest improvements we've seen for the reducing risk for the cardiovascular disease and diabetes and improving memory come not from moderately active people who engage in a more systematic and intense program, but from sedentary people who engage in a depressed minimum of the physical activity, even just getting up and walking a bit. Movement activities are particularly helpful, indeed essential, for individuals who have a closer conditions called metabolic syndrome, increasing blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat, amount of the waist, and abdominal cholesterol or triglyceride levels, which substantially increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. One of the problems with an exercise is that, like with the dieting people, start out with an over-ambitious plans that are difficult to maintain. The majority of people fail to follow through with these plans because they lose interest or find them boring or too difficult to integrate into their daily routines. For those who are out of the shape and thought of going to the gym may be intimidating, it is a fact of the gym industry that large proportion of the people who take gym memberships end up not using them. This is one of the reasons that so many gyms require that you pay for a year in advance. This was a kind of navigation our brains evolved to perform. Okay, sleep, memory consolidation, DNA repair, and sleepy hormones. How do you stay so mentally fit? Sleep. He said without missing a bit. 9 hours of sleep every night. Every night. Sleep is restorative. restorative. While you are unconscious and what's going on around you, possibly immersed in a world of dreams and weird thoughts. Your entire body and a brain chemistry change. Cellular repair and cleansing mechanism kick into over time. Wound healing and then fighting off bacteria and viral infections increasing in intensity. It's only recently that we've begun to appreciate the enormous amount of cognitive processing that occurs while we are sleeping. While we are asleep. Consolidation of memories takes place alongside problem solving, categorization, and emotional processing. The neural and cellular basis of a need for the sleep has been called sleep drive. Neuroscientists still don't understand where the drive comes from, but it can be conceptualized as a homeostatic pressure that builds up during the waking hours and dissipates during sleep. We do know that there are chemicals in the brain that us feel sleepy, somnogenic agents such as melatonin and adenosine, but then a gradual accumulation of them creates the homeostatic pressure. Consistent with the kind of individual differences we will look at in chapter 1, people regard sleep differently. Some look forward to it, and some see it rather neutrally as a necessity, such as brushing your teeth, and don't give it much of the effective connotation one way or another. A third group sees it as something to be avoided at any cost for as long as possible, and they're looking forward to sleep. There are some who just like it because it is pleasant, it feels good. Yeah. Then there are some, like in the songwriter Billy Joy, who find a great source of inspiration and creativity. Was as much as profound unspending in the natural order as it was in a huge technological advance and the first step on the present and current age of screen addiction, over long work days and sleep deficits, and the first step in tricking nature's pineal gland into thinking it wasn't a daytime when it was not. The first step is messing with an account of biological clocks, and the first step in creating several generations of artificial light, including insomniacs. Many have claimed that climate change, obesity, and access to clean water are greater threats in public health, but even if sleep loss comes in at number 4, it is a serious threat, and one that each of us, an individual, can do something about directly. First, we electrify the night. Light provides degrader of our sleep. Second, there is an issue of work. Not only the progress broader between the we start and finish, but longer commute times too. No one wants to give up time with their family or entertainment, so they give them sleep instead. And anxiety plays a part. We are lonelier, more depressed society. Alcohol and caffeine is more widely available. All these are the enemies of sleep. We have stigmatized and sleep with a label laziness. With the label of laziness, humans are the only species deliberately deprive themselves of sleep for no apparent reason. Sleep deprivation can occur in two primary ways. It can be either an insufficient duration or an insufficient quality. That is, you maybe sleep 8 hours a night, but for various reasons you might pass on it during the requirement stages of sleep. or you may not enrich them on an optimal amount of time. You may think you're asleep when you're not, or if you're having sleep apnea, you may be waking hundreds of times during night and without realizing it. Healthy, productive sleep allows the body engaging in cellular repair mechanisms, normal cellular housekeeping, and immune system responses, and it helps us process difficult emotions and replenish our energy levels. One of the functions of sleep is processing the most emotionally intense experiences in a previous day, to separate the fact from the feelings so that we can reach a quantum objective view of things. Okay, sleep deprived people show a 60% greater activation in their amygdala during waking hours than those who are not sleep deprived. 60% greater? Wow. Because an amygdala is a part of the brain's fear circuit, it is known to trigger aggression, anger, and rage. This finding highlights the relationship between sleep deprivation and emotional regulation. When your mom told you that you were being crabby because you didn't get enough sleep, she wasn't probably right. The act of reading was staying awake, going over in business, leads to the buildup of toxins in the blood and brain. Cerebrospinal fluid circulates throughout the brain and spinal cord, and it clears away toxins through a series of channels, like in waterways, and expand during sleep. Almost none gets cleared away while you're awake. Why all this happens during sleep and during the wakefulness is not fully understood. The little sleep, or perhaps counterintuitively, too much sleep impairs problem solving, attention to detail, memory, and motivation and reasoning. A U-shaped distribution has been uncovered, showing that people who sleep less than 7 hours a night or more than 10 hours an increased risk of hypertension. Similarly, sleep duration of less than 6 hours and more than 9 is associated with increase in prevalence of diabetes and impaired glucose tolerance. Poor sleep duration and quality, as well as too much sleep, also increases in stress and the allosteric load, the culminating effects of stress over time. If I haven't frightened you into taking sleep seriously yet, and sleep deprivation is now strongly associated with Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease occurs when a certain kind of a protein, amyloid, builds up in the brain, where it forms clumps and collected between the neurons, which in turn disturb cell function. During proper restorative sleep, these amyloid deposits get cleaned out of the brain through the action of the cerebrospinal fluid. When you're sleep deprived, either from a short duration or in a poor quality sleep, these amyloid deposits don't get cleaned up, and they tend to be selectively attack regions of the brain responsible for sleep, which then makes it even more difficult to sleep and consequently more difficult to clear out the amyloids. A vicious slimness memory killing cycle. It doesn't happen only in chronic sleep deprivation. A study published in a week at first dropped in a paragraph showed evidence from Paskins that amyloid plaque and deposits build up in the brain after only a single night without sleep. Under the protocol, participants may have managed to sneak in short cat naps during the night, but nurses were vigilant, checking on them every hour throughout the night and waking them if necessary. The arrays most infected by sleep deprivation were the hippocampus, memory, and thalamus control sleep-wake cycles. It is becoming clear that a lack of sleep, particularly chronic lack, can lead to the Alzheimer's disease. If you want to lengthen your health span, better to follow Ovid than Edison. Okay, resetting sleep cycle. 아이고야. Resetting your sleep cycle. You sleep in roughly 9-minute cycles, comprising stages that neurochemically and electrophysiologically distinctive. You probably heard of this kind of sleep in REM and non-REM. REM stands for Rapid Eye Movement Sleep, the time when you're typically dreaming. Non-REM sleep occurs first in 4 stages with increasingly deep sleep, during which the frequency of the brain waves slows down. Dreams help us work things out, to let thoughts too dangerous, insane, or distressing have a safe haven in our minds, while other bodies are temporarily paralyzed, preventing us from entering the dangerous real-world situations. A small portion of the people don't experience paralysis during their dreaming. Sometimes it is drug-induced. The sleep medication Ambien has been associated with sleepwalking, sleep eating, sleep driving, and a number of disturbing accidents and crimes, including listening to murders. Oh my gosh. REM sleep helps us maintain emotional balance. And a lot of what happens during REM sleep is simply random neural firing. Has no particular meaning. No, REM sleep is when our memories in a previous state are consolidated and link within previous experiences. If you meet someone new at the party named Mary, your brain, without instructing it to do so, and without conscious awareness, will recall her face and gestures and link them to the things that she said, and then her name. It may link to other people you know, who reminds you of her, and other people you know named Mary. While we enjoy non-REM sleep, and our brains toss and turn over the experiences of the previous day or two. If it stays all night and making a connection between those and similar past experiences. In order to do that, the fine motor and muscle movements you make today need to be integrated in neural level with what happened on the previous days. But lifelong skills, many years and decades worth of neural choices become linked to the new ones. Sleep does this. To determine your personal amount of sleep needed, define a 2-week period. When you can afford an experiment, a period during which you are not under any particular stress or deadlines, and when you have enough free evenings. No late night dinners. Try to avoid alcohol and caffeine, or if you must have caffeine, try to limit yourself in 2 or 3 servings a day. And none within 7 hours in bedtime. Sleep in a darkened room where sunlight won't disrupt you in the morning. Then just go to sleep, and when you're tired, and wake up when you feel like waking up. Without an alarm, keep a log of your sleep and the wake times. If, like most of us, you've been sleep deprived for some time, you will need to pay back your sleep debt near the end of the 2 weeks. And however, your body should have settled into the rhythm, and you should be able to wake up without the alarm, feeling refreshed. 맞아요. That's right. Sleep in the aging brain. We've been seeing aging typically associated with a reduced ability to adapt to environmental changes, impairments in perception, and a normal physiological functioning. And aging creates susceptibility to decrease due to reduction in immune system efficacy. The time course at which all these changes become noticeable varies from person to person, but it's rare that some over 8 hasn't noticed these changes, and many people notice it after 55. Uh, it's not surprising. Then, the changes are seen by larger company aging as well. It causes some sleep dis- disruption. Okay, sleep disruption in older adults, including the decrease amplitude of the circadian rhythms generated by the SCN, timekeeper in the brain and maintains the circadian rhythms. The degradation, the degradation of neurosignaling in the aging brain, and impairments in melatonin production. More than 40% of the people over 65 report sleep problems. Nighttime sleep is often interrupted by frequent awakenings in sleep fragmentation. These interruptions become more frequent in the early morning hours, and they can become more and more difficult to get back to sleep. With increasing age, the essential slow wave in sleep states, a phase in non-REM sleep is reduced. In early night REM sleep increases. Restlessness and leg syndrome, the urge to move one's legs while sleeping, isn't common in older adults, and this results in an increase in sleep fragmentation. Disorders in breathing, including sleep apnea, is also common. Is related to the decrease in lung capacity, obesity, and loss of pulmonary control, and the reductions in thyroid function. Sleep disturbances causes memory loss and some physical and psychological illnesses, including depression. It increases in the risk of neurodegeneration and mortality. The problem is that although sleep requirements remain the same as we age, our ability to fulfill them decreases. Although those are more likely to take naps, it is way to compensate for nighttime sleep quality. Naps can compensate for poor nighttime sleep, but it's best to limit them to 20 minutes, or you can suffer from sleep inertia. Your body may want to stay asleep, and a long nap may make it groggier than a short one. You may have read news reports showing that naps are associated with a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease, but there is conflicting evidence at that point, and more research needs to be done. The problem is that most studies don't control for the duration of the naps, or for the amount of nighttime sleep that people are getting. So the studies combine different groups and behaviors, and it's hard to draw any firm conclusion. Insomnia comes in many forms, and an inability to get asleep, and inability to stay asleep, poor and insufficient sleep quality, and their annoying cousin, daytime tiredness, and massive walk notes. The past 100 years of industrialization have interfered with the sleep around the world as extended hours in artificial light, and more recently the blue light from the computers, tablets, and phones disrupted the melatonin generating system in our brains. If you are going to follow the traditional folk wisdom to read a book when we have difficulty sleeping, don't read an electric device that emits blue light. It can reduce melatonin by up to 50%. Hypersomnia is an opposite insomnia, sleeping too much. Some unfortunate people can have both at the same time, whereby they sleep too much for a day or two, then stay awake at night or two, repeating the cycle. Such cycles are unhealthy and are often filled with drugs, alcohol, and caffeine. Hypersomnia can be resultant of degeneration and neural disease, or the depression, or it can result from a more organic cause of an increased sleep fragmentation, among other goals. Multiple awakening during the night can lead to an poor sleep quality, which fails to restore a homeostatic balance of the sleep-wake cycle, and also our bodies crave more and more sleep. Similarly, obstructive sleep apnea causes sleep fragmentation and can lead to hypersomnia. One common cause of hypersomnia is drug use, and particularly benzodiazepines such as Valium and Ativan, anxiolytic medications, antipsychotics. The relationship between hypersomnia and depression is complex. Depression leads to a moderation of the brain chemistry that could cause us to want to sleep more, yet to sleep more even in the absence of depression alters the balance of the wake-up chemicals. The body's own uppers and so can lead to depression. And the antidepressants often have a paradoxical effect. Treatment in hypersomnia involves slowly removing any prescription drugs that may be causing excessive sleepiness, avoiding alcohol, and resetting your sleep cycle. When that doesn't work, modafinil or amdaphanil, upon awakening to general sleep, isn't tolerated well, and it helps you maintain daytime wakefulness without causing jitters and nervousness and sleep difficulties at night. Special problems women, menopausal symptoms last 7.5 years on an average. 7.5 years on average, and for some women symptoms last significantly longer. Salient among these vasomotor systems, which include night sweats and hot flushes, and vaginal dryness. These vasomotor symptoms can be direct cause of the sleep disturbances, or the sleep disturbances can occur independently from any of the variety of factors already mentioned. But non-definitive reports and risks associated with hormone therapy, including the increased risk of breast cancer, we recently individualized therapy-induced women with the symptoms, with the view that in young, healthy women we probably have come full circle, and the role for hormone therapy's prevention may at least entertained. Special problems for men. Okay. What you take before bedtime? Caffeine can disrupt sleep, but not in everyone. Circulating affects people differently, and the interpret and genetics have determined the generation play a role in caffeine metabolism and tolerance, and they've begun to identify some of the genes through studies in twins. On average, caffeine increases sleep latency, the amount of time it takes people fall asleep after lying down and deciding they want to sleep. It also reduces the total sleep time and the quality of sleep. Caffeine can reduce the melatonin secretion levels by 30%. Caffeine also shortens the stage in 3 and 4 sleep, the most restorative phase, and reducing the amplify and the slowing wave and delta beta brain activity. Delta wave activity is a reliable indicator of how much sleep need we have. Because caffeine blocks and adenosine receptors and attenuates delta waves, sleep homeostasis could be affected, meaning that the cues your body normally uses to go to sleep and stay asleep are disrupted at the more molecular level. I mentioned melatonin in chapter 8. Here's a bit more about it. Melatonin is naturally occurring hormone in the body, secreted by the pineal gland during the dark hours of the day, typically in a couple of hours before bedtime. It is also produced in other parts of the body. In the retina, it is believed to have protective effects on photoreceptors. In bone marrow, It functions as a scavenger of free radicals and enhances an immune function, reducing oxidative damage and protecting against iron overload and the deterioration in these highly vulnerable cells. In the gastrointestinal tract, melatonin heals and protects against disorders and is being used experimentally as a treatment for the gastric cancer, reflux esophagitis, peptic ulcers, ulcerative colitis, and intestinal ischemia, reperfusion. Okay. Melatonin levels in our blood are highest in the young people, 55 to 75 milliliter, and they start to decline after the age of 40, with a faster decrease from the 6 years of age onward, reaching very low levels in the elderly, 18 to 40 milliliter per gram milliliter. New research suggests that melatonin have been protective effects against many cancers, which may be part of the reason that is when people age and melatonin levels go down. They're more susceptible to cancers. Sleep hygiene. Okay, given a time-dependent nature and hormone release and schedules that are governed in a circadian clock, what is the most important thing about sleep? Go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning. Although a few of us are lived this way in the 20s and 30s, and by the time we reach 65 or so, you may begin to notice that inconsistency has become even more punishing. Even a slight change into the schedule, staying up a light hour later than usual, for instance, can affect your memory, alertness, and an immune system for days. To maintain his mental acuity during the last 25 years of his life, he was fastidious and about going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. Start getting ready for the bed about 2 hours before sleep time. Ensure that a room you sleep in completely dark. Sleep in a cool room if possible. Help to keep your sleep and wake up cycle synchronized properly by getting the sunlight in the morning. Write in a journal before bedtime. Don't rely on sleeping pills for more than 1 or 2 nights. The sleep then induces less productive and less restorative than natural sleep. Go to bed at the same time every night. Wake up at the same time every morning. The new longevity. The application of the part 2 relatively straightforward. Guides you to the better aging. Okay. The topics in the part 3 are more complicated. Much of what we hear about longevity, quality of life, and the cognitive enhancement should be confronted with skepticism. But there isn't many bright spots now. We can't live forever, but we can live longer than ever before. We can stay active well into the 90s and beyond, making valuable contributions in our world. Okay, live longer. Scientists talk about an age. We are not talking about chronological age because there is wide variety of ways that people age. Cellular clock that programs ourselves. Immoral animal. Human lifespan. Scientists study interaction between genes and environment, and to some extent culture. Blue zones. Most people living in blue zones are the following common. They are physically active, not during weight and endurance training, but during chores, gardening, and walking is an integrated part of their lives. They move a lot. Their lives have a sense of purpose, by doing things that they find meaningful. They have a low levels of stress and a slow pace. They have a strong family and community ties. They follow a varied diet with a moderate calorie intake, but mostly based on plant sources and a high quality food. Now, all this isn't appealing because it is consistent with what we know about unhealthy lifestyles, but evolution are not evidence that they work. Genetic versus an environment. There's an old saying that if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Genetics look for genes that are recording familiar patterns that appear to conquer certain behavior and physical disproportions. Predisposition, predispositions. The problem, though, is that not everything that runs in a family is genetic. Consider French speaking, which does run in families. That's because of a concept called an authoritative mating. When selecting a mate, most of us tend to be more comfortable with someone who isn't somewhat like us. Thompson and physical attractiveness, intellect, and sociability or other traits. That means that we are choosing people who possess some genes similar to ours, even though we are not closely related. What this all means is that culture and environment and the healthy lifestyle changes you make are more important than genes for predicting how long you will live. Genes that families share homes, neighborhoods, and access to education and healthcare and culture and cuisine. Worms, FXO, and insulin. But genetics isn't just about what traits are inhabitable. Your genes play a daily role in encoding a protein sequence that instructs your body and everything that keeps your health and alive. Anything that can interfere with gene expression or replication can affect longevity. Earlier I mentioned protein FXO. Cynthia Kenyon was able to double the lifespan of the worm C. elegans by manipulating FXO, which in turn activates a number of cellular repair and fortification mechanisms that normally decline with aging. It's also though the cells have some kind of a clock in them that isn't winding down and affects reverse it. Can you explain that this way? But get this, on the condition of stress, FXO sends out a signal that starts activating the mechanisms that improve the ability of the cell to protect and repair itself. Adding 2% of a glucose in a bacteria diet of the C. elegans completely reversing this lifespan extension, highlighting the important role of insulin and longevity. The biological behind human childbirth may also hold clues to aging. Before an egg is fertilized, there appears to be a massive burst of a house cleansing in which the egg is swept clean of the age-damaged and deformed proteins. The Hayflick limit and telomere Hayflick. We now know that many gene mutations and other inventions that increase longevity also posed on age-related diseases. It was accepted in wisdom that human cells would continue to duplicate indefinitely. It was only the oldest cells that stopped dividing, while the younger ones continue to divide. The rule out the possibility of an contamination. He put an old cells and the younger ones in a sandglass bottle. It was only the older ones that stopped dividing. He subsequently documented that limit to the human cells and division was between 40 and 60 cell divisions on replication. DNA copies a cell only in a finite number of times in normal cells, And the cancer cells must have a method to circumvent circumvent this mechanism. Researchers later found that heavily limits are caused by a shortening of the telomeres, the disposal protective cap at the end of each chromosome. The later transcription factor encompasses DNA know that is it time to start transcribing. The transcription factor misses in a few sequences. Each time there is a replication and make the telomere a little shorter each time. Thus, when the telomere gets shorter in cell division, and thus in cell repair and the renewal stops. When DNA cells stop dividing, we don't die immediately. The human body has around 10 trillion cells in each carrying DNA, although it's well established. Long telomeres, and one leading hypothesis is that when the telomeres shorten and the cells start replicating, they enter a state of senescence, and I begin to come up the works. Telomere length is mediated by the number of factors: demand and conscientiousness, the propensity and the planful, reliable, and industrious, and to adhere to social norms and to tolerate delayed gratification. Exercise is associated with an increasing telomere length and mediating the negative effects of stress. A diet and a whole food is associated with increasing telomere length, whereas in processed foods, especially hot dogs and smoked meats and sweetened beverages, are associated with a decrease in telomere length. Now, all kinds of stress and shorten telomeres in short term management stress are actually good for you because they keep you challenged and then given a repertoire and coping skills. Strengthening cells and during the process are called homeostasis. This describes anything that in a low dose is helpful but in a high dose is toxic. Other examples are hormesis, hormesis in ultraviolet light, ultraviolet light. You need some stimulant in pineal and synthesize vitamin D, but too much causes skin cancer and cataracts. And vitamin A, you need a small amount of the normal development and eye function, but too much leads to anorexia, headaches, and drowsiness, and alternate mental states. The kind of stress that shortens telomeres in the long term, chronic stress, in particular long-term caregiving for family member, job burnout, and serious traumas such as rape, abuse, domestic violence, and bullying are damaging to telomeres. And in general, it takes a long periods of stress and people use telomeres are damaged. And a month-long crisis in work probably isn't enough. But when stress is enduring, depending on the feature of your life, that is when your time is weak gets shorter. When you seen as a theme throughout successful aging, an important and modulating factor in relationship and stress and telomere length is your response to stress. If you have developed a good method in coping and you can stay calm and find a reason to be happy, your telomeres may not take a hit at all. Some people approach difficult events in a way can do attitude, bring it on mentality, think this event is a challenge and an opportunity to learn. Other people keep in despair. The physiological response in a sudden stressor, a sudden your adrenal gland releases cortisol in short bursts, and that is a good thing. A homeostatic response encourages your energy. Mindfulness meditation is kind favored by Dalai Lama increases in activity of in a telomere, so in a lengthens in a telomere. Trying to be a better person, trying to do the things which really make other people happy, which, as I've said, makes me happy by making other people happy. That's what it's about. In other stuff, it doesn't mean anything, at least, and that's my way of thinking. That's what Eastern philosophy is about. I think I'm happier now that I have much more understanding. They perceive the quality of life is more important to the individual's well-being than objective measures in the quality of life. People age at different rates with the lifespan that you will have. The goal is to try to increase your health span and decrease your disease span. The healthy practice includes the principle and practical responsible for people with increase in health span. Curiosity, openness, associations, conscientiousness, and healthy practices. The people I've encountered who are still contributing to society, to arts and science, to their communities, and to families, and doing all five of these. Some examples of healthy practices. Intelligence predicts how well we are able to adapt to changing environments. More intelligence should mean that we are more likely to solve new problems. Intrinsic learning that is those who focus on learning. Okay, intrinsic motivation is always more powerful than the extrinsic motivation. Even Jesus' word card, Chirac describes in who two kinds of mindsets in Canada, fixed versus growth, and they related to locus of control. As with most things, these are two mindsets refers to end of in a continuum. Few people are entirely one or the other in aspects of their life. People within a fixed mindset believe that their qualities and abilities don't change. They say things like, people within a growth mindset believe that they can change their skill sets and they can continue to learn. What are age appropriate goals and they regarding a frank self-assessment? It's important to fight the tendency to give up or to restrict your activities too much. The biggest tip of all promoting healthy emotions as we age is to find a way to help others. It is much more difficult to be depressed or frustrated if you're working to make someone else's life better. The present moment. If you want to experience any supernatural in your own life, by healing your body, creating new opportunities you could never imagine before, and by having transcendent, mystical experiences. You first need to master the concept of the present moment, the eternal now. There's a lot of talk about being present or being in the now these days. While most people understand the basics of what matters, what means not to think of any future or live in the past, I want to offer you to completely different understanding of the concept. It's going to require that you get beyond the physical world, including your body, your identity, and your environment, and even beyond the time itself. This is where you turn possibility into reality. After all, if you don't get beyond who you think you are, and the way you've been conditioned to believe the world works, it's not possible to create a new life or a new destiny. So in a very real sense, you have to get out of your own way, transcend the memory of yourself as identity, and allow something greater than you, something mystical, to take over. In this chapter, I'm going to explain how that works. First, let's take a look at how the brain functions. When any neurological tissue in the brain and our body is activated, it creates a mind. Consequently, from neuroscientific understanding, mind is the brain in action. For instance, you have specific mind to drive your car. You have another mind to take a shower. You have a different mind when you sing a song or listen to music. Usually a specific level of mind to execute each of those compensating functions because you've probably done each of those tasks thousands of times. So your brain turns on in a very specific way whenever you do any of them. In other words, the neurons that fire together accomplish the task become more wired together. For the most part, your brain isn't a product of the past. When you experience something new, your senses write the story neurologically in your brain, and even more neurons come together to make even more enriched connections, upgrading your brain even further. Experiences not only enhance the brain circuitry, but they also create emotions. Think of emotions as chemical residue from the past experiences, or in a chemical feedback. The stronger the emotion acquired from the events of your life, the more the experiences leaves and the lasting impression in your brain. That's now long-term memories are formed. So if you're learning means making new connections in your brain, memories and when you maintain those connections, the more you repeat a thought, choice, behavior, experience, or emotion, the more those neurons fire and wire together, and the more they will sustain a long-term relationship. Therefore, when an experience changes how you normally feel chemically and heightens your attention to what caused it, you will associate a specific person or thing with where your body is in a particular time and place. That's how you create memories, by interacting with another world. It's safe to say that the only place in the past actually exists is in your brain and in your body. How your past becomes your future. Let's take a closer look at what happens biochemically inside your body when you think a thought or feel an emotion. When you think a thought or have a memory, a biochemical reaction begins in your brain, causing the brain to release certain chemical signals. That's how immature thoughts literally become matter. They become chemical messengers. These chemical signals make your body feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Once you notice you're feeling a particular way, then you generate more thoughts equal to how you're feeling, and then you release more chemicals from your brain to make you feel the way you've been thinking. For example, if you didn't have a fearful thought, you start to feel fear. The moment you feel fear, the emotion influences you to think more fearful thoughts. And those thoughts trigger the release of even more chemicals in the brain and the body makes it and make you continue to feel more fear. The next thing you know, you get caught in a loop where you're thinking crazy and feeling, and then you're feeling crazy and thinking. It does and the vocabulary of the brain and the feelings and the vocabulary of your body. And then the cycle of how you think and feel becomes in a state of being. That you enter a state of being is in the past. Oh my gosh. When you fire and wire the same circuits in your brain over and over again, because you keep thinking the same thoughts, and you have wired in your brain into the same patterns. As a result, your brain becomes an artifact of fast thinking. And in time, it becomes easier to automatically think in the same ways. At the same time, as you repeatedly feel the same emotions over and over again, since I just said, emotions are the vocabulary of your body, of the body. Emotions are the vocabulary of the body and the chemical residue of the past experiences. You're conditioning your body into the past. So now let's look at what it means for you on a day-to-day basis. Give what's just learn about the feeling and the emotions in being, the chemical and the products of the past events. The moment you wake up in the morning and a search for a familiar feeling calls you, you're starting your day in the past. So when you start to think about your problems, those problems which are connected to the memories of the past experiences of different people or things at certain times and places, creating familiar feelings such as unhappiness, futility, sadness, pain, grief, anxiety, worry, frustration, unworthiness, or guilt. If those emotions are driving your thoughts, driving your thoughts, and you cannot think greater than how you feel, then you're also thinking in the past. And if those unfamiliar emotions and influence choices you're going to make the day, the behaviors you're going to exhibit, or the experience you're going to create for yourself, then you're going to appear predictable and your life is going to stay the same. If you keep doing these same routines over and over again, that will become a habit of having a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that you acquire through frequent rotation. Frequent rotation basically means your body is now on autopilot. Running a series of programs and over time, your body becomes a mind. You've done this in a routine so many times that your body automatically knows how to do certain things that are better than your brain or conscious mind. You just switch on autopilot and go unconscious, which means that you will wake up next morning and essentially do the same thing all over again. In a very real sense, your body is dragging you into the same predictable future based on what you have been repeatedly doing in the same familiar past. You would think the same thoughts and then make the same choices and they lead to the same behaviors. They create the same experiences and they produce the same emotions. Over time, you will create a set of hardwired neurological networks in the brain and then have emotionally continue the brain to live in the past, and the past becomes your future. Voice, because it is essentially the same actions you took today are those ones you are going to take tomorrow and the day after day and the day after day. Let's face it, if you keep the same routines as yesterday, it makes sense that your tomorrow is going to be a lot like your yesterday. The future is just a rerun of your past. That's because your yesterday is creating your tomorrow. Each of these vertical lines represents the same thought that leads to the same choice and they initiate an automatic behavior. It creates a non-experience that produces a familiar feeling or an emotion. If you keep reproducing the same sequence, in time over time individual steps merge into an automatic program. This is how you lose your free will to a program. You could say that your mind and body are in the known, the same predictable future based on what you did in the same familiar past. And in the known, certain future there's room for the unknown. In fact, if something new happened, if something unknown were to unfold in your life and at the moment, to change in the same predictable timeline of your day, you'll probably be annoyed at the disruption of your routine. You'd likely consider it troublesome, problematic, and downright inconvenient. You might say, "Can you come back tomorrow?" It's not the right time.